Okay, hi everyone. Here we are, not at camp. It's Monday, and usually we would have had a full day sports day, and probably about now we'd be getting ready for a well-earned bit of tea. But unfortunately, we can't be doing that. So what we're doing instead is a load of different things over this week. And tonight we've got a couple of interviews with some very exciting people. Let's go around and introduce ourselves. So first of all, my top left in the green t-shirt with the least amount of hair. Do you want to say who you are and what you do?
Okay, yeah. So I'm Rob, and I'm a youth pastor for a church in Liverpool. And I've been to camp. I'm probably the newbie. I've been to camp 3 times.
Okay, and then the young lady below my picture on my screen, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us how many times you've been to camp?
Yeah, I'll take it. That's me. Yeah, I'm Jess. I'm from Liverpool. I used to go to the church that Rob works at, and now I live and work in Manchester. And I've been to camp since I was 9. I first went, and I've been pretty every year since, and I'm now 23. So I'll let you guys do the maths on that one.
Great, thank you. And then you, young sir, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name's Kian. I'm from Birkenhead. I go to Maitland Church, and I've roughly been going to camp for about 6, maybe 7 years.
Oh, great. Okay, and I'm going to kind of chat to you a little bit first, Kian, if that's all right. But are those 6 years, they're all as a camper, is that right?
Yes. So for 6 of them, yeah, I've been as a camper. But last year, I also did Camp Hab as a leader.
Okay, great. And then you were due to go this week, weren't you, to Inters as a leader this year?
Yeah.
Which is a real shame, I think, but just means you'll be older and wiser next year.
I hope so.
On to the serious questions, right? If you were given a tub of celebrations, which is the one you'd eat first and which is the one you'd eat last?
Okay, so I think definitely the first to go would be the Maltesers teasers. Easy, most elite part of the celebration box. Last to leave, bounty, no question.
That is spot on, but I can see, Rob, you're absolutely...
No, I am just surprised. I ask this question to young people a lot, and they get it wrong a lot. Key, top answer. Very impressed.
Thank you.
Why, what's the wrong answer that you get all the time?
Oh, like we had an intern in our church saying the Milky Ways go first. I mean, Laura Briscoe, if you're listening, I'm sorry. It's ridiculous. The Milky Ways first. Sorry, I can't get going on that. You better move on.
So, Kian, what do you do day to day? Do you have a job? Are you in sixth form, college?
So I was in sixth form college, and I was due to take my A-levels this year, but obviously due to COVID, couldn't take them. So I've pretty much just been, kind of getting up on my skills, guitar, Xbox.
Okay, decent. So how did you start going to camp?
So I wanted to go since I was roughly 10 or 9, but me, mum and dad didn't feel like I was ready enough to go yet. So I wasn't allowed to go till I was about 12, which was mine and my mate's first time going to junior week, which had the theme of Wreck-It Ralph, which was really fun, and fell in love with it. And I've been going ever since, and just kind of like going deeper in my faith year after year.
Yeah, cool. What was your best week of camp you can remember?
My best week of camp is probably the last senior week that I've been to, the one last year, I'd say, because it was just nice that everyone that I've been going to camp with for the past 6 years were all there. So it was like almost like a really nice end to the camper kind of saga.
Yeah, that sounds so dramatic. No, I get that. Last year was cool. I was there as well. It was a really good week.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just rewind time a little bit. So when you started going to camp aged 12, were you a Christian already?
I was, yeah. I think I was definitely a Christian, and I think I got baptised that year after camp, not too long after.
All right, okay, great. And how did you become a Christian then, if not at camp?
So I've pretty much grew up in church all my life. Well, I say pretty much, I literally have grew up in church, pretty much gone 99% every single Sunday. And it's just kind of, as you get to know more and more about it, Like, as when you're a little kid, you think, oh, it's just a place on a Sunday. But as I got to around the age of like 10 or 9, I started to realise what it really was. And I ended up giving my life to Jesus around that time. And then I was, you know, I kept going to church, and then it got to the point where my mum and dad felt like I was ready to go to camp, which also helps as well.
Yeah. I think my mum and dad were the other way around. They're like, get to camp so we can have a week's break for you. Hope they're not watching this, actually. I just dropped them in it.
Very understandable that though, isn't it, Josh? Let's be honest.
Yeah, especially when I was like younger. So Kian, you said you grew up going to church, and I work with a lot of young people where that isn't the case. You know, they've never been to church and stuff. And actually, me as a young person, I thought this as well, but the perception is church is a really boring place, full of old people, and you sing jog songs and have to sit still and behave yourself and listen. Why would you say, what kept you going to church growing up?
I think I'd say it was a mix of things. I'm really into my music, so I had like this affinity for the music that was being played. It sort of attracted me. And then as I grew older, I realised that the lyrics meant something. And I'm not even lying. I'd probably say because my mate brought his Nintendo 3DS and I never had one, so I always used to play it during one of the sermons, like at the back of church.
That's gold. So all you youth leaders out there thinking, how can I get young people into church? Nintendo, or whatever the latest version is. Yeah, so you've been a Christian since you were, I can't remember the age now, 10, is that right?
Yeah,
9 or 10,
roughly about 10, yeah.
What would you say during that time has been the hardest thing about being a Christian?
I'd probably say being able to just kind of keep up the, kind of praying regularly, read my Bible regularly. Because obviously as you get older, more and more kind of distractions-ish kind of get in. Like I've definitely not read my Bible anywhere near as much since I've like had my Xbox, but I've really been trying recently, and I'll put my hand up on that one. But I'd probably say that it's probably keeping up with the routine of being a Christian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like kind of remembering to keep connecting with God, even though loads of different stuff goes on. Yeah, that's good. I think that's something that's, I suppose, has been hard now as well, hasn't it? Like the routine in people's lives has completely changed, and such a challenge, isn't it? But yeah, and then final question for you for now. What difference would you say being a Christian makes, or why do you bother with that routine and that consistency?
I think it's like a kind of, it's not that I'm trying to say it's something that's always been there and it's like I can't get rid of it. It's like I like being able to say that I worship my Creator, and I know that I can bring my troubles to someone that will always listen, and if I really ask for it, I will get guidance, and I will find comfort in like reading my Bible. It's the simple things like that, to be honest. Yeah.
So like kind of whatever's going on, God, kind of connecting with God just helps you to deal with that and grow. Yeah, that's so good. Thanks, mate. It's been great, because I still think of when I first met you. I think you were 12, in a tent that literally I think just laughed for a week, whether it was night or day. So it's great to hear actually how you've grown and what role God has played in your life, and see you as the young man that you've become. So thanks for that, Kian.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. And hopefully we'll be able to see you in a flesh at camp next year. Okay, great. So Rob, we're going to jump over to you. Is that all right?
Yeah, all good. Okay, so Jess, we've known each other for a few years, haven't we?
We have indeed, yeah. A few too many, arguably.
Well, possibly. But, we first met Jess, and I'm not expecting you to remember the moment, but it's like 2012. How old were you in 2012?
15, I think.
Okay, and it wasn't long before you just dropped in that you're a Man City fan.
Yeah.
And then, you're part of a group for about 3 years before you went off to uni. And I don't think there's ever an issue that I was a Liverpool fan, you're a Man City fan, because let's face it, in that time, you were the better team. But I'm just wondering if you were in, my youth group now, clearly Liverpool are the better the team. How do you think you'd feel being in my youth group now?
Well, yeah, I enjoyed watching the most anticlimactic Premier League trophy lift of all time. So don't worry about that one, Rob.
Hey, look, we won it. That's all that matters. Yeah,
congratulations. I'm not bitter. I'll let you have it this year.
Yeah, and you have to admit you love Jurgen Klopp, don't you? You said this to me.
No, I think you're confusing me with my mum.
Oh, okay. All right. But anyway, I mentioned that because you kind of have your dream job. Well, perhaps not the dream, because I think I know something of what you want to do. You do have a great job, Jess, don't you? So why don't you tell us about what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I studied languages at university and kind of wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was quite open to different opportunities, and then I went to a careers fair and came across Man City at the careers fair. So just went over and was like, oh, I'm a City fan, what are you doing here? And then kind of found out about a graduate scheme that they run, and yeah, like, gosh, 18 months later now, like, here I am in Manchester working for Man City, for City Football Group, which owns Man City and kind of 8 other football clubs around the world. So yeah, it's a really exciting job to be in. And
I asked you just a week or two ago about like what you've been up to, and you said something like, oh, I've just been involved in buying a football club or something.
Yeah. So yeah, basically we recently acquired a club in Belgium. So yeah, I was involved in that.
As you do, you know. Yeah, just acquired a club. Brilliant. So Jess, we'll stay here at the minute, like talking about kind of where you're at the minute, and then we'll talk about kind of like your upbringing stuff in a second. But tell us, what's it like being a Christian in that environment? Yeah, I think obviously football can be a challenging environment. I think to be a Christian probably doesn't surprise people, even from like the language that people might use. I'm on the kind of business and operations side of things, so I work in a really nice office and I work with really good people. But I think for me, I try not to think of myself as kind of a Christian that works in the office. I'm just me. I'm just Jess that works there, and kind of being a Christian is just part of who I am and like a key part of my identity. But actually, it's just about being authentic and just about being yourself and just trying to kind of live out your truth and your authentic kind of self and identity, I think, as best you can. Yeah, so just seeking to be who you are in the place. Yeah, great. Okay. And how similar or different are any of maybe the challenges that you face in work and being who you are? How similar or different is it there to perhaps in school or just kind of maybe in your friendship circles when you're in Liverpool? Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think the challenges are probably quite similar. I think the difference is that I'm more secure now in who I am and in my kind of God-given identity, and that I would feel more confident perhaps about just being honest and just sharing, not necessarily even just sharing my faith, but just sharing the fact that I go to church or that I'm a Christian. And when someone says to you, what did you do at the weekend? You don't omit the 5 hours of your Sunday that were kind of spent at church, and you don't omit that out, and you just say it, and generally people have really kind of respond to that really well. That's my experience. So I think in a way the challenges are still similar, but I think the challenges that we put on ourselves, and actually a lot of the time no one else is bothered if you go to church. It's us, like, we kind of put that pressure on ourselves and that fear. But in terms of kind of being around people and having, I guess, other Christians around, I actually had like a really amazing story of glory really from my job. And to kind of cut a very long story short, I went to church in Manchester, kind of looking for a church, turned up and bumped into, in the lobby, the woman who had basically interviewed me and hired me for my job at City, and she happened to go to the same church that I go to in Manchester. So that kind of gave me the confirmation really early on that was where God wanted me to be, and also it was really nice then to know that there was someone else in the office that got me and that I kind of connected with on that level. Yeah, definitely. No, that's brilliant. Okay, so I think you said you started going to camp when you were 9. Is that what you said? Yeah. All right, so when you started going to camp, would you at that point have thought you were a Christian? Were you a Christian, or did that happen kind of after you perhaps started going to camp?
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian family, and I think that is a massive blessing. It sounds like a cliche, but actually, like, you know, when I stop and think about what that means, it's meant that I've grown up knowing that I'm loved. I've grown up surrounded by people who love me and who kind of go out of their way to like make sacrifices for me. And I'm not just talking about my family, but I'm talking about kind of my church family as well. And as I get older, I realise what a blessing that was. So, you know, I was really blessed in that sense. In terms of my personal faith, I think I find it hard to put a date or a time on when I became a Christian. I think it was just a gradual sort of journey, and really camp was a way that I could restoke those fires, I think, and like reconnect with God on that yearly basis, which is just when you're young and when you're impressionable. I think that's just so good to be able to do that, to go and meet new Christians and see the same ones each year, and just kind of remind yourself of what's so great about being a follower of Jesus.
No, brilliant. And a question that often, not just young people, but people can ask is that, well, number one, perhaps if they're not sure if there's a God, they can ask, is there really a God? But we'll perhaps cover that on another occasion. But
don't bring that one on me, Rob. Not
yeah.
prepared.
The other one is, you know, but what difference does it make? You know, they might say, I'm a good person. You know, maybe I go to church sometimes. What impact would you say your faith had on your life as you went through school, as a young person, when you weren't at camp, you know, when you weren't at church? What kind of impact would you say that had on you?
Yeah, I think for me, it just kind of always just comes back to love, and like just knowing that you're loved, and then actually just like living your life in a way that is just loving towards other people. So kind of in the interactions that we have with people, are we being kind to them? Like, are we acting in a way that Jesus would want us to act and Jesus would have acted? And I think that's kind of, when I look back at my life, to know that I've always known that my identity is in God, and that I don't need to worry about school or exams or uni or whatever it is, because I know that God has a great plan for my life. And I think that's kind of the impact that it really has had on my life. In a way, I've actually never worried about that. And even in my final year of uni, I wasn't worried about getting the right job, because I knew that God would have a plan for me. And actually, he had a plan that was bigger and better than I could ever think, ask, or imagine, as kind of the Bible says. So I think that's really the impact that my faith has had on me, just taking away those worries that I see my non-Christian friends carry in their lives.
So just having that trust, that assurance that, you know, it's not all on you, and that if you know, you have moments of, I don't know what's happening, I don't know where things are going, just being able to just know that God's got it. Yeah,
like the Bible says, like cast your worries, like give your worries over to God, because he cares for you, and like that's all we have to do, which is amazing.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Well, I think one more from me, unless Josh is going to jump in. And this is, again, I think, a question which, if a young person doesn't ask this, I think it's definitely something that they think. So, Jess, what would you say are the keys or some of the things that you found that work for you to not just kind of be a Christian at camp or be a Christian on a Sunday, but actually to know what it is to be loved, like you talked about, through the week, so that it's not like you're this person when you're with this friendship group or at school, and then you're this person when you're at camp and this person in another context? What would you say are the keys of actually staying in that security of your identity wherever you are?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Rob, and I think this is something that I'm still trying to figure out now. How do we kind of make sure our faith isn't highs and lows, but actually is kind of a constant in our life? And my answer to that would be surround yourself with people who are going to like push you on in your faith. And those people are the people that we meet at camp, the people that we go to church with, the people that we can have conversations with about God. And I think alongside that is this idea of like keeping plugged in. So actually, even when on a Sunday you'd rather have a lie-in, like get up and go to church, and just kind of keep yourself in that environment, because it really will like reap its rewards. And know that we all make mistakes, and you know, I'm I'm 23. I continue to do things that I'm not proud of. I continue to do things that aren't great, but actually that doesn't define me. You know, when you mess up, when you do something you regret, what do you turn to? Do you turn to God and kind of say sorry and try and, you know, make things right with God, or do you just dig a hole for yourself and kind of spiral? And actually, if we just keep connecting with God, keep plugged in, and keep connected with the people who love God and who love us, I think that's how we kind of keep on in our faith and keep encouraging each other.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great answer. I think that the people that we spend our time with have a major impact on our lives, don't they? So no, I think that's a great answer. Brilliant.
Okay, great. Thank you both very much. I feel like so privileged to hear the wisdom, and it's such a shame that you guys couldn't be leaders at camp this year, but hopefully this interview will encourage a few of you guys watching at home. So thanks very much for being online. I just wanted to finish off with one question, and that is, what would you guys, so Jess, you kind of touched on this a little bit with your last answer, but what would you guys say to some of the young people watching this who maybe feel like they really need that lift of coming to camp? They could have used that week away with other people who believe in God, focusing on God fully to encourage them. What would you guys say to those? So Kian, can you answer that for me first, please?
I think I'd probably say try to keep that mindset of wanting, like, keep wanting to be on that level, like keep that consistency, and maybe and I feel like what's helped me kind of get through it is watch other preachers. I feel like that's really filled that void of hearing someone else other than my dad talk for like an hour, and I feel like that's really helped to kind of, so yeah, like I said, fill that void, just kind of like keep that consistency, and just really try to live out that try and create that bubble that camp gives you, and like make it your own if you can.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Jess, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think just be encouraged that like the God that meets us in the worship tent at camp is the same God that is kind of can meet you there in your bedroom when you're just sat, like maybe listening to worship music or whatever it is that helps you connect with God. Like he will meet you, and you know, God meets us just where we're at. Like we don't have to do anything to prepare ourselves to meet God. He's ready to meet us. We just have to kind of invite him in and seek him out. And I just really encourage you to do that. And like Kian was saying, there's actually loads of resources now online, and whether it's worship music or podcasts or readings, whatever helps you connect with God, just go ahead and do it. Yeah, and be encouraged. And maybe like Rob, I was wondering kind of on this point, like if young people are wanting to kind of connect or find ways that they can connect with other Christians, what resources are there practically? What are youth sort of clubs and youth workers doing around Merseyside to kind of facilitate that?
Yeah, great question, Jess. I think that clearly the fact that you're watching this, you'll know that MCYC are throwing out different things over this week and next week with seniors. And so make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, so that you can pick up what is being offered and just engage with it. You know, I think what I would say is sometimes when we throw on some worship music or watch something like MCYC online or whatever it might be, we can just kind of give it a bit of lip service and just kind of have it on the background, but engage with it. Think about what's taking place. You know, even sing along. Now, you're not going to do that if you're walking down the street, clearly, but, you know, give yourself the opportunity to engage with God rather than just be able to say, oh yeah, I did watch that or listen to that if mum or dad are asking. I think that in terms of if you're part of a youth group already, definitely ask your youth leader what's going on. And if there isn't much, then tell them you'd like there to be stuff going on, and that'll be an encouragement to them. Well, hopefully anyway. And there'll be other groups as well that are offering things. So maybe you can just put that in the chat on the Facebook page of MCYC and just kind of make that known if you're struggling to get what you need. But I would also say that in terms of on your own time, it's trying to get into this habit of feeding yourself. You know, there's nothing wrong with turning up to youth or to church or to camp and having somebody talk to you about Jesus from the pulpit and encouraging. That's a great thing. But actually, I think it's about learning to do that on our own time. So just 5 minutes a day, that's what I tell our guys. Even if you just take 5 minutes to maybe just read a psalm, read something from the Old or New Testament, and you might not even fully get what it is, but it's just kind of giving that to God, giving him that opportunity to speak to you through his word. And you might hate reading, so listen to it. Go onto YouVersion app on your phone and just click the icon to listen. And that's just as good as reading it to listening to the word. So those are 3 things that I'd say. How about you?
Yeah, me. Yeah, I think there's 3 things as well I've been kind of thinking of throughout this whole lockdown. But the first one I'd say would be don't despair. You know, it'd be so easy just to be like, oh, you know, my whole summer's ruined. I can't go to camp. If you read through the Bible, mad stuff happens to people's lives. Like, think about in the Old Testament, like Noah's Ark. How crazy is that? It's never even rained before, and then all of a sudden it floods the whole earth. I mean, people have dealt with bigger things. So don't despair, because trust that God's got a plan. And then I was thinking about actually why camp is so good. The first one is focus. So at camp, you can really focus, can't you, on God? You can focus on your friendships. You can focus. Everything there is geared towards you meeting with God. And that's why we have such good encounters with him, because there's so little distractions. So maybe while you've kind of got extra time, while you're limited to where you can go, what you can do, just try and allow time to focus. You know, what Rob was saying, find a way that works for you for meeting with God. And then the second thing that's so great about camp is community. It's you with your friends, aren't you? And Jess touched about this earlier, but reach out to those guys. You know, reach out to the people that you're going to be missing at camp and say, you know, listen, maybe we can meet up in a park, you know, socially distanced. Maybe we can text different things that are encouraging us, or different things that we're struggling with, pray for. Make an effort to get in touch with them and your youth leaders and stuff. You know, we do better when we're together. So they're the big 3 things for me. Don't despair, stay focused on God and connect with each other and do this in community. I think that's what I'd want to leave you with. Okay, everyone, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I know for me personally, it was great to hear some of the wisdom that both of you guys have got. And I actually feel really encouraged as well. Just hearing how, you know, God has brought you up. You know, it's so hard to be a young person these days, but you guys are both great examples of what God can do in your life if you just try. I know, as you both said, you're not perfect and you've slipped up at times, but he's kept you there. So that would be my prayer for all you guys listening. I hope you've really enjoyed that, and I hope that you can see through these people's lives, that it's possible. So we do pray for you. We'll be praying for you this week. Do tune in to all the stuff going on online. Yeah, see you later.
Right. See you.
See ya.
Bye.